Let's have finding the domain and range of a function. So let's start with the first function. We have linear function. So there are two conditions under linear functions. You have condition 1. If the linear function y is equal to k, which is a constant or any constant, then the domain is the set of all x such that x is a real number, and the range is the set of all y's such that y is equal to this constant k. Now for condition 2, if the linear function y is equal to mx plus b, where m is not equal to 0, then the domain is the set of all x such that x is a real number, and the range is the set of all y such that y is also a real number. So let's have this example. Let's have these two examples. So example number 1, find the domain and the range of this linear function y is equal to 8. Notice that this linear function y equals 8 falls under condition number 1, where our k is the number 8. So the domain of this linear function, say domain is the set of all x such that x is a real number. Okay, meaning this linear function is defined and real for all values of x in the real numbers. And the domain of this linear function, the range of this linear function is the set of all y's such that y is equal to 8. Meaning, there's only one element in the range, and that is 8. Because this linear function y equals 8 is a constant function. Okay, so if we are to sketch its graph on the Cartesian plane, say we have this x-axis and the y-axis. Now this y equals 8, say this is 8. So this is the graph, or the sketch of the graph of this function. Notice, if we extend our x values to positive infinity or to negative infinity, this function is still defined, that is real. And its range is the set of all y such that y is equal to 8. So meaning, sa y-axis natin, only one element lang ang na-contain ng range ng linear function natin. Okay? So, that's it for example number 1. Now, let's try example number 2. So, we have this linear function y is equal to 3x plus 7. Okay? So, this example falls under condition number 2. And notice our m, or the slope of this linear equation, is a positive number. It's not equal to 0. It could be a negative as long that this m is not equal to 0. Why? Because if m is equal to 0, then our function it will not fall under condition number 2 but under condition number 1. Kasi pag ito naging 0 yung x, so our y is equal to 7, and that is a constant function. Okay? So the domain of this linear function is the set of all x such that x is a real number. Meaning, for any values of x in the real number, our y is defined and is real. Okay? Now, let's have the range. The range of this linear function is also the set of all y's such that y is a real number. Meaning, for all values of y in the real numbers, x is defined and is real. Okay? So that's it with finding the domain and range of linear functions. Now let's have another type of function, which is quadratic functions. If y is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c, or for a quadratic function, the domain of a quadratic function is the set of all x such that x is an element of the real numbers. And for range, the range of a quadratic function is the set of all y's greater than or equal to this expression, which is 4ac minus b squared divided by 4a, where a is positive or a is greater than 0. Or the range is equal to, or is the set of all y's where y is less than or equal to this expression 4ac minus b squared divided by 4a, where a is negative or a is less than 0. Meaning, kapag yung quadratic function natin, okay, if we are to determine the range of a quadratic function, unang titingnan natin is yung numerical coefficient ng leading term, and that is a. If a is positive or a is greater than 0, then our range is the set of all y's greater than or equal to this expression. Otherwise, if a is negative or less than 0, then our range is this inequality. Okay, so let's have example number 1. So we have this quadratic function y is equal to 3x squared plus 4x plus 5. First thing to do is we are to determine the values of a, b, and c, or the numerical coefficients. So our a is positive 3, our b is positive 4, and our c is positive 5, or the constant. Okay. Notice that our a is positive. 3 is a positive number. Therefore, yung range natin is yung first condition. Okay? But let's start with the domain first. So the domain is the set of all x such that x is an element of the real numbers. Meaning, all values of x are defined in this quadratic function. Okay? What I mean ng all values of x are defined, ibig sabihin nun, kahit anong number in the real number, yung i-substitute natin sa quadratic function natin, y is defined and is real. Okay? Whether, say, 100, if x is equal to 100, if we are to substitute 100 to these x's, y, the value for y is real and is defined. Or if we are to use negative 1,000 as our x value, our y is still real and defined. So kaya our domain is the set of all x in the real numbers. Now let's proceed to the range. Okay? So nasabi kanina, yung gagamitin natin is yung unang kondisyon. Okay? So our range is the set of all y such that y is greater than or equal to 4ac minus b squared over 4a. So, susolve muna natin yan. Okay? So, ano mga values kaya ng y? Okay, yun yung tanong dito sa range. Ano mga values ng y that will satisfy this inequality? Okay? So, therefore, solve natin itong expression na to. Okay? So, we have 4ac minus b squared all over divided by 4a. Okay? So, plug in natin. This becomes 4 times our a is 3, our c is 5, minus our b is 4. So, 4 to the power 2. Sorry. Yung exponent pa nasa labas. It's the same. Then 4 times our a, which is 3. Now, if we are to compute or to simplify this, we get 11 third. Okay, or 4 times 3 times 5 is equal to 60. Tama? Yeah, 4 times 5, 20 times 3, 60. 60 minus 4 to the power of 2 is 16. That is 60 minus 16. That is 44. Right? Yeah, it's 44. Then 4 times 3 is 12. So meaning 44 over 12. So we can reduce this. This becomes, reduce natin siya. Pwede natin siya reduce by 4? Yeah, by 4. So 11 over 3. Okay, so this is the value of this expression. But our y is greater than or equal to the value of this expression. Meaning, our range is the set of all y's where y is greater or equal to the value of the expression, which is 11 third. And this is our range. Meaning, this quadratic function is defined only for all y's greater than or equal to 11 third. Okay, if our y is less than 11 third, any values of y less than 11 third, our quadratic function is not defined and is not real. So that's it with finding the domain and range of a quadratic function. Let's have the third type of function. We have the rational functions. So if y is the ratio of these two functions p of x and q of x, where p of x and q of x are polynomial functions, or in short, this is a rational function, then the domain of a rational function is the set of all x such that x and y are defined in the real numbers, or x and y are in the real numbers, and the range is the set of all y's such that x and y are in the real numbers. Ibig sabihin nito, yung domain ng rational function are the values of x wherein the rational function, the value of the rational function is defined and is real. And the range of the rational function is the set of all y's such that kapag sinubstitute mo itong mga values ng y na to, the rational function is still defined and is real. Meaning, merong mga restrictions dito. There are possible restrictions in rational functions. Ibig sabihin, kapag domain, merong mga possible values ng x na restricted. Ibig sabihin, hindi siya pwedeng isali sa domain. Or else, y is not real or not defined. Or kapag sa range naman tayo, merong mga possible values of y na restricted, meaning we cannot include them in the range because the values of x are not real and are not defined for this set of y's na restricted. So para mas clear, let's have this example. We have the rational function y is equal to 3x plus 5 divided by x minus 2. Let's start with finding its domain. Okay. So, ang concern natin dito is, anong mga possible values kaya ng x wherein y is defined or y is real? Okay. So by analyzing this, all values of x can be included in the domain except for anong x value kaya wherein y is not defined or y is not real. Okay, in our basic mathematics, we learn na kapag rational rational function, if the denominator is equal to 0, then the whole function is undefined. Okay, so para mahanap ang domain natin, we have to find the restrictions since division by 0 is not defined. Meaning, this x minus 2 should not be equal to 0 para ma-define ang y natin. So, ang domain natin is the set of all x such that x is a real number and x should not be equal to what number? To positive 2. Okay? So, lahat ng values ng x sa real number pwede sa rational function na to. Ibig sabihin nun, ang y natin is real or defined. Pero meron isang value ng x na hindi pwede kasi magiging undefined ang function, and that is 2. Meaning, hindi kasali si 2 sa domain natin. Meron ding other way of writing the domain kasi ito medyo mahaba, but it's detailed. Pwede gawin natin siyang the domain is the set of all real numbers except 2. Okay? So, set of all real numbers except 2. So, hindi kasali si 2. 3 pwede, 2.00001 pwede, 1.99999 pwede, basta hindi lang mag-equal kay 2. Okay? Now, let's have range. So, the range, the y value, set of y values that would make the function defined and real. Okay, so ngayon, ano kaya ang mga values ng y? Okay, I'll use red na. Ano mga values ng y? Okay, wherein x are defined. Okay, kabaliktaran na ngayon. Ano mga possible values ng y wherein the values of x are defined? So, para mahanap natin ang range, we have to solve for x in terms of y and then find the restriction. Okay, so kopyahin muna natin. So, we have y is equal to 3x plus 5, x minus 2. So, we are to solve for x in terms of y. So, we get, let's manipulate this. We have x minus 2 times y plus 3x plus 5. Then, what's next? Kailangan natin itong malipat itong y natin. So for x in terms of y, okay. Sige, let's try if this works. Distributive property, so we have xy minus 2y, 3x plus 5, and then okay, so we have xy, then minus 3x, positive 2y plus 5. Okay, and then extract natin si x, so or factor out, so we have xy minus 3, tama, 2y plus 5, and then multiply both sides of the equation by 1 over y minus 3 to get rid of y minus 3 here, so this becomes x is equal to 2y plus 5, sorry, ulit sulat, over y minus 3. Okay, sorry. So we solve x in terms of y. So ngayon, anong mga possible values kaya ng y that would make x defined? So again, kailangan ng denominator hindi maging equal to 0. Diba? So the denominator, which is y minus 3, should not be equal to 0. Okay. Or else, the function is undefined, or the values for x are undefined. So, the range dito na lang. The range is the set of all y's such that y is a real number and y should not be equal to positive 3. Or you can write our range is the set of all real numbers except positive 3. Meaning, other values for y except 3 will make this equation defined and real. We can have 2.99, the function is defined. We can have 3.00001, the function is still defined. But if our y is equal to 3, then x is not defined. Okay? So that's it for the domain and range of a rational function.